Gentlemen, the time's come once again to discuss things.
As a citizen, I think I would be grateful for the aid. But if I were the Sultan, I should hate to be betrayed. Whichever road I take, I'll be incurring someone's wrath. Till now I've always traveled down the straight and narrow path. Temptation may have beckoned, but I always have resisted. But which way do I turn when the roads become so...
Everyone's really excited.
So...
You want to go ahead and get started?
No. I mean, yes.
Yes? Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Part2. Joining me today is the real Manos for Fan Film Reviews, as always. And as a special guest today, we have the Curious Lo. Hello.
Glad to be back. I always love being on, especially when we can talk about a musical.
Yay! See,
Yay!
She said she sang musical, so it made it even more musical. Anyway, so Lo, since you're here to talk about a musical, what musical are we discussing today in our fan project reviews?
We are discussing one of my favorites. It's called Twisted. It is a loving Disney parody. It's a musical, and it riffs on all parts of Disney, and it also riffs on a lot of, like, musical and theater things. It's just amazing. I love it so much.
Mm-hmm. And when I described this to Manos, I said it's kind of like a cross between Wicked and Aladdin, more or less. They are very apparent as they reference that. And as we were talking about beforehand, we've actually tried to review this before, and we lost all our audio, so this should be an interesting rehash of it. So we'll
Yes,
get into
so
that.
so me and Ian have talked about this before, but I haven't talked to Manos before about it. So I'm
Yeah,
excited.
so it's the burning question on the tip of everyone's tongue is Manos, what'd you think of this?
It was better than Infinity War.
Whoa!
I have to say it was a pretty exciting experience. When you first pitched it to me, Ian, last week, I was like, oh, okay, that sounds all right. We'll see. I didn't know how professional of a production this was. So I sat down and watched it this morning. Actually, it was I have a morning routine. I wake up, I check Twitter to see if Trump's been impeached. I get coffee. And I did those two things, and I sat down and watched this. And okay, the first couple moments was kind of making me think, okay, maybe this is pretty decent. And then, boy, that first market routine, where they have that line about why are we all white, and I was kind of sold at that point. I was like, okay, I'm all in on this fucking thing. I can't wait to watch more. I'm actually going to watch. Actually, if I had time, I was going to watch it twice, but I didn't get to. I think I'm going to show Lindsay this. I thought it was funny as fuck. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the joke that it takes the Wicked premise and attaches it to Aladdin and Jafar's story. At the same time, it's poking at fun at a bunch of Disney tropes, as well as, like, talking about Pixar. And it does it in still a fresh way, because I think at this point we've seen Disney kind of like made fun of and spoofed by others and by Disney themselves, and done very well. And wow, there's such a great energy to this. It's so funny. I'm so glad it's like, kind of R-rated and just cuts loose. And the songs are stunningly good. I just really good. Maybe that makes it so much better. Because it just works on like a comedy level. The humor is just so pitch perfect. The music is really enjoyable to listen to, and I've never seen Wicked, so I can't like say for certain, because I don't know if any of the songs in Wicked are similar to this.
We will get to that. Do not worry.
Okay, good. But I appreciated the fact that not every. I think there's only a couple of bits of songs that are similar to the Aladdin songs. I really appreciated that.
See, I'm actually kind of on the opposite side of that one. I wish more of the songs had been like direct parodies of Aladdin songs in particular. But maybe that's just me. I don't know.
It is just you.
Okay.
But you're the
No,
only
I
one who
get
feels that way out of the 2 million people who watched it.
Right, right.
So yeah. Before I guess I turn over, before I love the performances. There's not a bad performance in this musical. The lead as Jafar is so fucking funny.
Dylan Saunders.
Dylan Saunders. His singing voice is great. His comic delivery is great. When we get to like actual dramatic moments later, he is just so good. He just sells his part so well. I absolutely loved it.
Mm-hmm. And just for anyone that wants to use it, I posted the cast list and creative people behind it, so that's a link you can use. Anyway, yes, I agree. This is an impressively great fan project. What I love about this so much is Disney would never greenlight this shit in a million years. Like, this is something that can only exist as a fan love letter kind of thing, because Disney would never let this happen. No matter, like, if it's someone parodying it, like, Disney is infamous for going to war with companies that try to do things. Like, if you look into, like, the history of Anastasia's marketing, Disney, like, buried that film on release, just all kinds of stuff that Disney does. Disney fights and plays dirty, so even if, like, you could get a professional studio to greenlight this, Disney would never let it see the light of day. And so that's the fact that this is a fan-made thing and Disney can't do shit about it is beautiful. And, you know, it's 4 years later, or 4 or 5 years later that this thing's been on YouTube. I'm shocked this is still available on YouTube. I have no doubt in my mind that if, like, Disney tried to pull it off YouTube, it would circulate on the pirate sites, but it still wouldn't have as much exposure because of that. But, man, I love this because of just how much of a... It is such a loving parody, but it's got such a just vulgar, rude way to go about it. And I heard people... I looked up a couple things because I wanted to hear what other people thought of this. And I heard someone say that, like, they wish the vulgarity wasn't here. I'm like, no, the vulgarity is what, like, is a huge part of what makes this so special. That it becomes very, very enjoyable, just how crude and vulgar it is. And I quite love it for that reason. So there's some of my general thoughts. I also want to say that on top of being just absolutely hysterical at times, being incredibly quotable, it does get, like, legitimately deep and dramatic and in an impressive way, and that makes it really, really just adds this whole other layer to it that's really fun to watch.
I was totally surprised by that level when we got deep into this story, because I did expect, and actually I probably would have been totally satisfied if it just remained kind of light and funny, like say Gallivant or something like that, to that level, with vulgarity. I kind of would have been on board with it. And actually, while watching it, I was like thinking, is this going to be the same story? Is this going to end the same for Jafar, except, you know, we'll just get to sympathize with him more, or he becomes more evil at the end? And you're right, when it takes that, like, really emotional turn, Jesus Christ, that was such a smart way to sell it, and that's one of the things I like so much about well done parody and spoof. And a lot of people who make parodies tend to forget to leave in the heart of the story or put something else there. Like Mel Brooks would do that in like Young Frankenstein, for instance, has a lot of heart, and it's very sweet. But you watch like fucking Epic Movie or something like that, and there's nothing. And this has so much, and it actually choked me up a little bit at the end. I could not believe that. I'm watching a parody of fucking Aladdin, and it's choking me up about Jafar and Jasmine. It's just so great.
How about you, Lo? What are some general thoughts you have on this?
Yeah, did you like it?
Well, this theater troupe is, I mean, I hesitate to say, like, professional, but they're absolutely a professional theater troupe. They sell tickets, they sell merchandise, they sell the certain songs they sell on iTunes, other ones you can just get for free, usually on Bandcamp. So just to go to your point, Ian, as you're surprised that it's still up, they are well versed in dodging people. They had to go through a bunch of shit to keep their Harry Potter musical up. The first one that they did, which was kind of the one that made them famous. It's definitely their most famous musical. People listening may have heard of it. It's called a Harry Potter musical. I'm actually pretty sure that most of their stuff is very safe from being taken down because they are very calculating and they know how to play the game and they know how to do the stuff that's just on the quote correct side of copyright infringement that they aren't going to get in trouble for it. So I think that if we ever do go into any of their other musicals, which I would highly recommend a few of them, especially for this audience, I'm surprised that we're doing Twisted first because there's a Batman musical, there's a Star Trek musical, like there's some like legitimately like much more to quote to this audience, but yeah, that's just my little piece about Star Kid. 1 second, I'm gonna pause because there's a plane going over my house.
You and Manos both getting bombed.
I know. I'm so sorry.
I live in Norfolk, so there's a fucking like jet like every once in a while.
Yeah, I live right next to an airport, so commiserate. I feel ya. But yes, Twisted as itself, I love this musical. It has definitely been my favorite of their musicals, of which they have many. It kind of switches places with a few of their others, but it's so good. Me being the huge Disney fan that I am, if you're somebody that's listening that doesn't know who I am, I used to work for Disney. I've drank the Disney Kool-Aid. I'm very much on board with their brand. I love it. I have so much love for the company. And this musical, you can tell that the people who made it also love the things that Disney has done. They're all 90s kids who grew up in this sort of Disney Renaissance era, and they reference so many different things that a big Disney fan absolutely would have seen and laughed at, and not even just the movies themselves, but you kind of mentioned, Manos, the Pixar, like the buying and selling of Pixar and like how that happened. I mean, right down to the fact that they say, and the actual number escapes me, but let's just say it's like 12.
It's like 7 billion.
Yeah, and they say like drachma, but like it's the actual amount of dollars that Pixar was bought for, and they riff on Disneyland with their pin trading and their park hopping, and like it's just there's so many layers, there's so many things that are like loving, but also things that are very biting and harsh. The jokes about the 2Ds and how they should bring back 2D animation is fantastic. There's just I could go on forever and ever about the different jokes and how layered
it is. Yeah. You say that you're surprised we're doing it on this show, like this one first, and I love that they did Disney. There's not a ton of Disney fan stuff out there that we can really talk about that's even parody stuff, because a lot of it's just very, very specific, like one joke kind of dragged out over 10 minutes or something. This is a very, very smart parody that, again, it's such a love letter in so many ways, but it's also got these, like, little, we love you, but here are all your problems. And so that it makes it this really cool layered thing. And so it's one of the few Disney fan projects out there that I feel like you can actually say anything about, really, beyond, haha, isn't hipster Ariel funny? So, like, this, I love talking about this because, I'm not a huge Disney fan or anything, but I grew up with the movies. Like, I'm a 90s kid. I grew up in Disney Renaissance. Aladdin was my favorite Disney movie. It went between Aladdin and Jungle Book. So it's so on my level to see this. Aladdin made me like genies. I just have a thing about genies, and so I kind of root that all in Aladdin. By the way, if any of you listening ever find a genie lamp, you want to come to me for your wishes, because I've thought this through excessively, and I've got your back. Okay, I got you. You don't want to make genie wishes without my help. I'm like a lawyer for genie wishes, okay? Anyway, no, but like I love the way that they're doing with this stuff. So this is, everyone strap in. This is not going to be a typical half-hour length episode of Geeky Gentlemen. We're already halfway through that kind of goal, and we barely started talking about the thing itself. So this is going to be a longer one. No, but this is just so much fun, and yeah, I really agree. So let's start getting into the specifics a bit here and there. Which is the general premise of doing Wicked, but with Disney, with Jafar and Aladdin and all that stuff. And, you know, of all the Disney villains that I think you could make sympathetic, I think Jafar is a pretty far out there one to think of on a lot of levels. Because just seeing one, that dude oozes evilness.
I mean, of all the Disney villains they could have done, they put them all in this musical.
Yes. But like some of them just seem like you can get to sympathetic a lot easier than you could with others, right? Like the joke about Cruella de Vil, because she is the most irredeemable of everyone, where you just cannot possibly say anything about her that's like, oh well, in this light it was good. No, she wanted to make a coat out of puppies.
And they all get like disgusted, like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, like, I don't know, Jafar seems like one of the further out there ones to do anything sympathetic with. Like, obviously, with Ursula, you have more, like, they even considered putting a backstory in where she was King Trident's sister. So that was initially part of her, so you can make that more sympathetic.
Well, because that is the case in the original novel.
Yeah, and Gaston seems like he's much more sympathetic because, from a certain point of view, like, Belle is kind of nuts. Even Scar, you know, he was a male lion. Like, how did he get that scar? There seems like things that you could do to make it more sympathetic. And I've seen communists try to argue that Scar is like Stalin online, and it's actually kind of hilarious. But anyway, like, so there's so many more things. Whereas Jafar, just moment one that he's on screen, he is just evil. Like, he sends a guy to go die. He's just, like, the most evil character I could think of as far as some of the Disney villains go. And so to see this turn on him where he's such a good guy, like, you feel so bad for him because he just gets such an irrational level of hatred, is really, really clever. It kind of just immediately grabs me.
I was thinking about how since the Disney Renaissance, there has been a lot of, well, first off, a lot of people have grown up with them, and there's been a lot of discussion about the villains. Like, I think initially a lot of people discussed the princesses, and then this secondary conversation started happening, and then people started talking about the positions of the villains, and maybe, like, taking a second look at some of them. Like, fuck, you know, Disney's even done that with the Maleficent film. With Angelina Jolie is kind of like a serious version of this premise of like rewriting the story with the villain as the hero.
Yeah, if only it hadn't sucked.
Yeah, I'm so 50-50 on that. Maybe if they cut out like all the fucking narration, that would have been a better film.
There's nothing that could have salvaged that film. I'm a Disney fan, but Disney fans, they're kind of like Star Wars fans in that you can't be a major Disney fan if you don't also hate Disney. It's the same with Star Wars. You can't be a big Star Wars fan if you don't also hate Star Wars.
Yeah,
so,
it's weird. It's a weird relationship.
And I don't I'm very critical of a lot of Disney things people do. I mean, I joked that I've drank the Kool-Aid, but I'm also very critical. And Maleficent is just a bad movie. But
it's that kind of thinking. Take the quality. Take what you say about the quality out of it. It's that kind of like thinking behind it. Like, okay, let's look at this character, and I agree. Like, choosing someone who is so cartoonishly evil. I like the fact that they bring up that all the performers are white. And it does, I don't know, I can't help but wonder if, like, maybe because in the original Aladdin film, the good guys in that film kind of have more white characteristics. Mm-hmm. And the ones that are evil or bad examples are more stereotypically ethnic and seeming like they're from the Middle East instead. Like Jafar or some of the guards or some of the other like dingy characters. That almost feels like I don't know if that was the thinking, but like turning all that shit on its head like that, where Aladdin's more this cocky douchebaggy kind of guy, and I love how that builds up. To be honest, I thought through most of it, like he's just a douchier version of the one we see in the film. Until we progress,
to change much to make him into a douchebag.
Because like the creators of the film kind of modeled him. They talked about this. I'm sure you've heard this. They modeled him after Tom Cruise and the type of characters he was playing. And this is like early '93, so people love that kind of guy without thinking about what jerks they are. And I think that lends to the fact that a lot of people, like, since that film has come out, we've kind of thought about it a little bit more. And I like seeing that examined through comedy and musical comedy.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Aladdin changes very little. And actually, one of the few complaints I have is I do think it was a bit of much to have Aladdin go all Gollum at the very end.
That is my least favorite thing in this whole musical.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's funny. It got a laugh out of me, but I don't know. I just think it's maybe a bridge too far.
It's like it goes on a little too long, I think. Okay. Like, I like it, but I feel like eventually I'm just like, how does this fit into what's happening? Like, does this matter? And, like, yes, it's a comedy, but like we've already stated, it also goes to some pretty serious and dramatic places that, like, at this point in the musical, or at that point in the musical, it's, like, too zany to be up against all of the, like, you're scared that the characters you love are going to die, and, like, how are they going to get out of this? And, like, you're sad that he's not going to be with his one true love, and all these different things, and Jafar's sacrifice and stuff. And then it's like, oh, by the way, Aladdin is schizophrenic and is having conversations with himself.
Yeah.
Obviously, Manos loved it.
I absolutely love that scene. Because, well, I mean, you're right. It probably didn't need it, because at that point, I think Aladdin is losing us as far as an audience. Like, okay, he's not coming back to the Aladdin we tend to like. But I just love that turn, because it is out of nowhere, and it is menacing and creepy for just a moment, and we kind of forget about being a comedy.
And then it comes back to Jafar. It's like, okay, what the shit?
That's where he says,
so... God,
Jesus Christ, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, because that was so perfect, because he delivers that line for the audience.
Yeah. It like brings back in. You're like, I don't think I like what's happening right now. And then Jafar's like, I don't think I like what's happening right now.
Yeah, that was so beautifully timed and delivered. And you can't have that kind of laugh on Jafar's line unless you just commit to it and have him go as evil, as creepy, as Jack Nicholson evil.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that thought that. If they ever make a movie with Jack Nicholson where they need like a young guy to look and play like a young version of Jack Nicholson in a movie, yeah, they should get this Jeff Blim guy, because he's got it. He's got the crazy eyes and the smile.
Just wait until, because I will absolutely force you both to watch the Batman musical. He plays a Joker parody.
Oh,
it is perfect.
Okay, all right. I will say the thing I do like about the Aladdin scene is the overall point they make, and this ties in more with some of the themes and statements of the piece itself, where Aladdin says, you don't know how to use the lamp right? Like, the idea that Jafar kind of exists in this world where he's in a very corrupt system, but he's tried to work within the corruption to deal with stuff. And he's got just a kind of in-the-box way of thinking about how to deal with the world. And yet, like, he's got a fucking magic lamp that breaks every preconceived notion he has about reality. And so he just doesn't know how to use that. And so I thought that was a really, really cool character moment. And it makes a point and gives him that ultimate realization, which, like, of all the turns that I'm really impressed that they take and stay in line with the Aladdin thing, it is that turn to get Jafar to wish himself into being a genie again.
And to have it be a self-sacrificing moment as opposed to like a look how powerful I am moment.
Yes. Oh my God, you're like a devil.
I quote that line a lot.
Oh man, I hate just doing quotes in reviews, but it's so damn quotable. Yeah. Let's try our best to refrain.
Yes, I know.
Please.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I get you.
I don't make any promises.
I understand completely. No, but like it's so perfectly clever at the way that he sacrifices himself, turns himself into a djinn. I guess I should be saying, but turns himself into a djinn and then gives the lamp to Jasmine, and it's all like winding back on itself, and it's beautiful, and like she makes her wishes. I love that scene so much. It is by far the best scene in the entire thing. Which is saying something because it's got a lot of great.
Well, and I
scenes.
love the fact that they take Aladdin and make him this kind of douchebag character, and they do that to Jasmine too, but they redeem her. They take her from this place of complete ignorance about the world around her, and they don't even bring her to the place where she isn't necessarily ignorant anymore, but to the place where she is learning and that she wants to be a good ruler. And you can tell that even though she's still saying things like, I'm going to make everyone a princess, that like she wants equality, and she wants, she's got people there now that can help her, and she's got, like her father's out of the picture, and Aladdin is out of the picture, that she's going to be able to struggle through and make it. And like that's such a weird place for them to go when the beginning of the musical is so zany. But it works to give Jasmine that moment. And I'm assuming this is the moment that you were kind of tearing up at, Manos, where he's like, you don't need me anymore. Like, you've got the power in you. You'll be okay.
Yeah, it was.
It's a great moment. And it's a great way to kind of have those two characters be almost like, not necessarily like foils of each other, but to start almost in the same place and to go to very different places.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to talk about that in particular because the beginning of this musical is very mean-spirited and very self-awarely mocking kind of the classic Disney thing, wish upon a star, all that stuff. That's like the whole opening number. If you dream a little harder, good things will happen to you. Like, and Jafar's sitting there is like, that's unrealistic. That's stupid. That's bullshit. And then you get like all the way through, and there's certainly lessons to be learned from rational thinking and everything. But Jasmine gets to be more responsible, but she doesn't lose that kind of innocence and naivete. So her idea to make everyone a princess actually fucking works.
Yeah.
And it's kind of adorable. And I really, really like the twist that has. It's critical of the Disney dreams can come true thing, while also reaffirming it. And that should be like this massive contradiction of thematic points, but it's not. It just works, and they totally sell it.
I would agree, because at the beginning, I just figured it would be cynically making fun of, I don't know, some people call them limousine liberals who like act like they care about people and don't. And no, it actually was getting behind her and kind of validating and having her learn about that, about kind of being as practical as she can, but still like not letting go of like, her enthusiasm and her inspiration. So yeah, I was also pleasantly surprised. It's just one of these things. Like, it's just another example of how this kept getting better.
It really does. There's so many clever things in this. Like right at the very beginning when Prince Ahmed comes out and he's like, she suck a Bengal tiger on me. And
there's not going to be any political consequences. Like, it's in the movie.
Like,
it's just a throwaway little stupid scene.
Yeah,
and they even reference that. They say, like, I would just be a throwaway to illustrate her unwillingness to marry, but then they, like, roll with it.
Yeah, and that it becomes, like, this big driving force of the narrative that, like, Ahmed is the real threat that's been forgotten because Jafar's story seems more menacing and evil than all that. And that's really, really funny because Ahmed's whole song is that no one remembers him. And that's really, really clever stuff. it's got so many things to it that's just it's all built upon itself so perfectly.
I absolutely loved all the Ahmed stuff. It's like starting with that exact bit, like, oh yeah, that is kind of happens a lot in films. Like, should this have any kind of ramification for anything?
Right. Like that's a robot chicken bit, but just made semi-serious and stretched across the entire length of the musical, right?
Yeah.
Well, shit. There's
a back when I used to watch Family Guy, there was an episode where he was trying to impress his boss, and one of the jokes early in the episode, he tried to do something and ended up blowing up a child's hospital across the street, and it was just a throwaway joke. And then at the end, where he felt like he redeemed himself, he asked his boss, like, do I get the promotion? And she tells him, no, you blew up a children's hospital. You didn't think anybody would just forget that?
Yeah. So there's a lot of layers to that really work. The thing I'm probably the most impressed by is just how well written this is, because again, they could have gotten away with just a lot of jokes at Disney's expense and a lot of crude humor, but it's so well structured and tells a really, really smart story that's kind of, again, layers back into itself so many times, that it's really, really just a professionally written piece. Like, this is something that if Disney were to allow it, this could play on Broadway kind of stuff.
Oh, yes. Yes. I jokingly compared this to Infinity War, but let's see, more in line with this, I always really love the Evil Dead musical, and I think this is better than that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that, so I can't really say.
The Evil Dead musical's really good.
Okay.
And I think this is slightly better.
Yeah, I really, really enjoy it. I've shown this to a couple people. I've been yelling at someone at work to watch it because they're a huge Disney fan. I'm like, just fucking go home, sit your ass down, and watch this. Watch it all, because like it's just so good. You want to share it with people, and it's so damn quotable that you can just have so much fun with it. What else is something that we should talk about with this? We want to talk about the songs?
Yeah.
All right. Lo, why don't you start us off on that then?
Oh, gosh. Should I just start at the beginning? Well, you kind of already touched on the fact that Dream a Little Harder, that opening song, is sort of poking fun at that, like, whistle while you work, just wish upon a star and everything's going to be okay. But this song, I think more than any of the others, is the most kind of jam-packed with like references and jokes and quips. It starts off the musical so well. It puts you right in the world where if you can call it, a world within quotes, that you are just getting this like vulgar humor packed with references, and everybody hates Jafar. And they right out the gate, they have him reading the book Wicked that the musical is based on, and just really referencing right out at the front, like, yeah, this is a Disney parody, but also, like, don't forget, we're also parodying Broadway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like that one. I think my favorite song, though, is still the Twisted, the title track.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good. It has the perfect thing of it's got all this drama behind it, but it still ends up being hilarious in places.
Well, it's almost two songs, I feel like. Because it has, like, the whole stuff with all the different Disney villains coming to talk to him, and that is very funny, but also brings up a bunch of really valid points about looking at all the villains, history is written by the victors type of thing. And then you also have that part which kind of bookends all the Disney villains coming to say hello, with him actually being really introspective and like thinking about like what like his choices have consequences, and like, does he sacrifice his own kind of honor and his want to be recognized for the things that he does to save the kingdom, even if no one will know about it and no one will like sing his praises. He ultimately makes that choice, and it's really powerful.
I agree. I quite like that, and that's the thing for me that works is the bookend is just okay on its own, and the Disney villain song is pretty good, but it's that they're perfectly mixed together. One of the things I love about the intro to it is he has the line, "How does the golden rule apply in such a situation?" And the music in that does a slight reprieve to the golden rule song. So it's like really, really very smartly written, both on a lyrical sense and musically. The rhyming structure is really good. If I were the Sultan, or if I were a citizen, I'd be grateful to be saved. But if I were the Sultan, I would hate to be betrayed. I've always traveled down a straight and narrow path. And then it gets all the way to how did the road become so, and then you get Ursula coming in, and it's like twisted. I know. Oh, you do a really good Ursula. You do that really well. God, it's so perfect though. Everything about it just works so unbelievably well. That it is by far my favorite song, which is saying something because there are a lot of good ones. And to be fair, I don't know if that would have stood up if they gave the Djinn a song. I don't know if I could have made it through that shit.
I mean, their version of the genie is just so different. It's brilliant. But I think it's such a good way for them to take an iconic character and just make it their own. Like, just really lean into we're just going to have nothing but references. He's not going to say a single thing that isn't a quote from something else, just to really, really, like, lean into and riff on the original performance.
Yeah, but like, what if he did that, but it was just him, like, quoting lines from Disney and or Broadway songs?
And it was a song itself. I mean, if they had pulled it off, it would have been fucking brilliant. But I think it was smart not to. I think that might have been a little too difficult, even for them.
Maybe. I don't know. It's like, to be fair, they spend the entire, like, right at the end of the first act and the entire second act just building up how funny the genie is. And then he shows up, and it's just nothing but reference lines, and it's so damn funny. How about you, Manus? Did you have a favorite song?
Oh, God. Well, outside of Twisted, which I think is my favorite song, the Marketplace song I really enjoyed. It starts the musical off really strongly. Where, you know, he's just walking through.
It tells you everything you need to know.
Exactly.
What this is going to be.
What they're going to be doing. Like, you think you're better than me because you can read? Get out of my bookstore. The content.
Dude, I've used that so much.
That's such a great line. That song is wonderful. I don't know if it's called the Tiger Fucker song or...
It's called No One Remembers Ahmed.
No One Remembers Ahmed. I love that That was just brilliant. That whole piece. The whole piece with him talking to his guards and his army, and they're trying to, like, oh, did you fuck a tiger? It's cool. You know? What I think's so funny about that is they don't shame him for it. They don't embarrass him of it. They think it's awesome. Hey, you did great.
Good job.
You fucked a tiger. Like, I did not fuck a tiger.
Yeah, that's right. Just give Ahmed his tiger and no one gets hurt. And it keeps coming back. You could tell, like, I would kill to be in that writer's room when they came up with that shit.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, we're gonna make a joke about him fucking a tiger. And then they just, like, keep worrying, and then, like, someone else just throws in, oh, we should talk about him fucking that tiger again here. It's like, guys, we've done, like, 3 tiger fucking jokes. Isn't that enough? No! There can never be enough tiger fucking.
That kind of joke where people just won't let it go, or they think something's wrong, and the person constantly tries to get people to, like, understand, like, no, that's not what I'm doing, and getting more frustrated. That is always funny. No matter what the context, it's always funny.
Yeah,
I think, as much as I love the tiger fucking jokes, I think my favorite joke that is seeded really, really early on and then paid off right at the end is the whole, many years ago, I took my finger and pushed my penis in, and then at the very end, they're like, of course, he inverted his penis years ago. They're like, he can't be Jasmine's father.
Yeah, his first line is this stupid, vulgar joke, and it actually
Should be
pays
a
off.
complete throwaway, but it like had a point for the
Yeah.
for the grand scheme of things.
And I love the fact that like he's kind of built up before he says anything, and then that's his line.
And the voice, because that's the same guy that plays the genie.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, he's definitely a voice guy.
Yeah, he goes. They do a lot of just with a handful of actors. I'm looking at the cast list here, and let's see real quick. I'm gonna count out loud so it's more interesting. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Counting,
9,
so
10,
interesting.
11, 12, 13. Yeah, 13 cast members in this, and like 3 or 4 of them never play more than one character. So they do a great job switching out the ensemble cast here.
Yeah.
Because you can sort of recognize them sometimes, but they do a pretty good job of just, like blending them all together with costuming and whatnot to keep it fresh and it doesn't get distracting. Like, I never look at someone and go, oh, wait, so that's this character in a new outfit? Or, I never have anything like that.
Oh, and he's also the same guy that plays the Sultan and the Genie. He's also the one that does probably my other favorite comedy bit, a brilliant use of the rule of 3, where he's talking about how the guy got the pendant, and he keeps using all of the different like marketplace slang of like, oh, I really fucked his puppy, and then like the last one, it really chopped my dick off, and he's like, oh, I finally get it, and then he's like, no, he really chopped my dick off. So great.
Another good use of the cast is like one of the guard is killed, and then he shows up again, and the captain specifically mentions like his twin brother was killed. Like, that's a nice kind of joke on like stage work.
It's so cheap but so funny. It works so effectively in that way, right?
Mm-hmm. I
I
also do want to mention the captain. I enjoyed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Povolo, he
yes.
is fantastic. He's been in every single one of their productions. He's, I think, one of the only cast members that's been in every single one. And if Jim's ever listening to this, no offense, but he's not a singer. He doesn't ever do any of the big main roles. He's always kind of background. He's always kind of ensemble. But he's just so funny at those little bit roles that he steals the scene. He has this imposing deep voice that they always play for laughs. It's so great.
What was so wonderful about his performance was, but first off, he didn't try to imitate the captain in the Aladdin film, which I noticed a lot of the performers kind of went that route. He had this wonderful kind of dramatic, almost epic kind of like delivery, talking about really silly things. Mm-hmm. And he was never not funny. Like not one thing he said missed. And I agree. And I look forward to whenever he popped up on the stage. I was like, oh, good, he's back.
Yeah. I agree. He has my favorite quote from the whole fucking thing, to be honest. This is all your fault, Jafar. God, that keeps coming back, and it's so perfect. They use it just like the most... It's like you have to like do backflips to imagine that this is all Jafar's fault, and he always comes back with it. It's so good. You just fix the socioeconomic conditions that led people to theft. Oh man, we got wheezing laughs. That's good. Yeah. It's such a. This is so just perfectly done. Yeah, Lo, you're right. These are professionals. And this is that perfect level of professional fan project that I adore when I can find stuff like that. So yeah, this is one of my favorite things in the world, probably, because it's just so good. All right, what's something we haven't talked about? Manos, why don't you take us in some new direction?
Oh shit!
Perhaps to a whole new world.
Oh God! I felt. Oh crap! Kind of talked a lot about what I wanted to talk about. Jeez.
Take off your clothes is a great direction.
Take off your clothes is great. It made me laugh to see the fireworks in the sky. Said,
I think it's fuck each other.
Yeah, fuck each other. Man, that tickled me. That really made me
This one, and I'm sorry, I'm going to go on a teeny tiny little like thing about Disney fandom is that I'm sure you guys have seen people talk about how in so many Disney movies there's like sexual stuff hidden in the background.
Oh,
which
yes.
Most of them have been debunked, but it's still like a thing in the Disney fandom to like talk about that and like poke fun at it. And the fact that they have an entire song about subliminal messaging and like referencing all of the different ones, like they reference the obscure fact that the priest in The Little Mermaid looks like he has a boner, although some people think it's his knee. And like she says that, she's like, no, I think it's just his knee. And like, if you aren't a big Disney fan, you could easily be listening to that song and just be like, what the hell are they talking about? Like, there's no priest. Why are you mentioning somebody with a boner? I like, as a big Disney fan and like as a big animation fan, I love that they reference that kind of obscure, almost deep cut.
Mm-hmm. Now, like, isn't the line "take off your clothes"? Isn't that like what Aladdin's rumored to say at one point?
Yeah,
okay.
It's like the part where the tiger's attacking him, and he's like, "Down, tiger, and it kind of sounds like he says, "Good teenagers take off their clothes."
What?
I mean, like, if you listen
I
to
haven't
it,
heard that one.
It is kind of what it sounds like. It's just him saying like, "Good tuggy waggy, good tuggy waggy," and then it like cuts to Jasmine talking, I think. And it's him in the background, and it sounds like good teenagers take off their clothes. I mean, like, I can sort of hear it, but obviously they didn't get... the voice actor's name is escaping me, but he was in Full House, for goodness sake. Like, he's not gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna record good teenagers take off their clothes.
I don't know. I think there have been other actors from Full House say gross things about teenagers.
Maybe.
Yeah. No, that is a really clever poll, and it's really neat to see how many references and deep pulls they get in here. Like I talked earlier in the Twisted song, that they go into like the proposed origin that they're going to give Ursula, but cut it from the movie. Like, that's really, I don't think many people know that unless they're kind of into Disney and animation and all that stuff. Which I should say, I'm more of an animation fan than I am a Disney fan, if that makes sense. So
and
that's
I'm
why
the opposite side of the coin. I'm more of a Disney fan than I am an animation fan.
Yeah.
I
you
suppose
got animation in my Disney. I got Disney in your animation.
Oh, no! Yeah, I'm kind of... I'm a Disney fan, but I suppose I'm like a wider like animation fan. Like, I'm a big Marvel fan, but I love comic books.
Yep. Yeah. So it's really cool that they get so many of these deep pulls in there, and it really works for the piece and all the commentary they've got on Disney, because it'd be harder to take their criticism seriously if you couldn't tell that they were huge fans with the way they've written it, with like so much reverence for the source material, that they're even able to pull these like really, generally obscure facts. I don't know how obscure anything is with Disney now that the internet exists, but
Yeah, that's why I was like, you guys have actually probably seen them talk about this stuff, but 5-10 years ago this stuff was really obscure, and I was the only person in my friend group that knew it.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, so it's just it kind of works as like a bragging rights kind of thing. It's kind of like, it's like in math homework when the teacher told you, like, show your work. It feels like that's what they're doing with a lot of the deep pulls, but it's integrated really, really well, and I like that about it. What else is worth talking about? Costuming. Costuming and props are pretty impressive here. I think some of the hand props, like the lamps and the swords, look a little too ridiculously scaled, but it's whatever. I really like Jafar's costume. I think it's really brilliant that he's wearing the genie costume the whole time, and all he does is take off the hat and the jacket and then pull on the hood. That's really, really clever. That, like, just as far as a stage transition style thing to do, I really like how that all works together like that.
Well, fortunately, the original film, they chose to kind of color him in red in his regular clothes, and then we turned into the genie. He had just a red color scheme, so it was fortunate that they had that working for them.
Yeah, this is gonna sound mean, and I don't mean it to, because he's on stage for 2 hours singing his face off. But it also kind of works that Dylan's face got very red as he was singing.
He's so sweaty by the end of it.
Yeah.
Yes, he very much is. And
And
like,
yeah,
there's-
like you can't blame him. He's like working his ass off. Absolutely no like hard feelings, but he is a sweaty mess.
yeah. I don't know I can't remember what song it is, but there's one song at which he is singing, and the angle that they shoot it at and the light catches just right that you could see him like spitting onto the stage. And I'm like, ooh, that is not a flattering look. I maybe would have cut to a different angle there. But no, it's totally understandable, and he absolutely kills it, so it's just perfect.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
yeah, I like a lot of the costuming. Again, some of the props, like Jasmine's earrings, I think are almost too big and ridiculous, but that's kind of the point. It's a little bit of a fine line from time to time. I think the best costume, just because of how it's right off the screen, but it's not overly proportioned in weird ways. I love the Aladdin costume. It so perfectly captures the screen presence for Aladdin. Like, it's got the little hat, it never falls off his head. It makes no sense why that doesn't happen, but it does, and it works. It's so streamlined and perfectly captures the animated Aladdin thing.
I rather like the Scar costume because it's out of left field with all the other costumes, and it's obviously that they're parodying the stage show of The Lion King by not trying to like dress him up too much like a lion.
See, I didn't know that when I first watched this, and I think Lo, you might have explained that to me.
Lo, those many months ago when we already reviewed this.
Yeah. So, like, I'm kind of two minds about it. See, if I'd known that, I probably would have appreciated it more. The first time I watched it, I was like, oh, it's a little disappointing compared to all the others. But no, knowing that does make it even more clever on a different level that I just was not aware of. My favorite, though, God, that Ursula costume is just so cool.
That Ursula costume is great, and she is selling it the way she's moving around in it.
Yes, when she does her little strut.
Yeah.
Jamie Lynn Beatty, she has a beautiful voice, and this is kind of the only point in this musical that she gets to, like, sell it. And it's kind of on like one of the most like grotesque characters, and that she's like putting on this like deep voice the whole time, but she's still, I think because she has such a great voice, it works because she can put her voice through that and still sing her heart out.
Yeah. Yes.
I really like I love so much about the Twisted song. It's so good. It's kind of the best part about this. It's why I chose that image for the thumbnail. God, it's so, everything about it comes to a head in that. You know, one thing that I didn't notice before, but as I was looking up stuff, apparently Wicked, like the logo for Wicked is got the dot for the eye is the Wicked Witch in green flying off on her broom. And for Twisted, the dot on the eye is the lamp here. And so, like, just that, again, that level of detail is so cool to see. And I never would have picked up on it because I'm not a Broadway guy. So just, so many levels to it. I love it to death. But I think we're getting close to wrapping up. Did anyone have anything else they wanted to make sure we got into, brought up, or anything like that?
I wanted to draw attention to the puppets. They only have 2 in this musical. In other ones, they feature them a lot more. But I'm always blown away by their puppeteering. In this one, it was the monkey and the parrot. So they're pretty background in this, but I just always love that they're so well done. Especially the monkey. He looks creepy AF. And it, like, the girl who puppets him is just amazing in that she just is making noises, but like flips off Aladdin at one point, and like it's great.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I think the monkey gets overshadowed by being called a small furry man at one point. Yeah, those are pretty good. I don't know. Maybe it's just I don't see a ton of stage stuff that does, you know, animal integration in that way. So I'm just not used to it, and I just get taken out by it a little too much. I don't know.
Fair
Maybe
enough.
I would have preferred, like, drop them down from the ceiling on wires kind of puppeteering as opposed to, you know, person on stage that I'm just supposed to ignore.
Well, that's kind of the conceit of stage versus film. So
Yeah, I know. Like, there are obviously multiple methods and everything. I'm just not used to that method being seen as often. So it's a little too jarring for me to get into it 100%. But and I think that's why they use them so sparingly, when it all comes down to it. All right. Well, if that's gonna do it, let's go ahead and move on to ratings then. Manos, why don't you go ahead and go first?
I absolutely adored this. I think I found religion with this. I will pester people forever that they should probably see this at least once.
Have you heard the good news about Twisted?
Yes. Do you realize Twisted has a wonderful plan for your life? I would definitely give this 5 furry, creepy man puppets out of 5.
Okay, how about you, Lo?
I mean, no surprise. I'm going to give this 5 out of 5 dick in sheep's clothings.
Okay, I will give this also 5 out of 5 ridiculous situations that are still somehow all Jafar's fault. Yeah, this is a damn good piece of work. Okay, Manos, what will we be reviewing next time?
We are reviewing a fan film that was just released a couple of months ago. It even got the eye of her creator. He even commented on the page. It's Ironheart. There's an Ironheart fan film that was made a few months ago, and I'd like to talk about it next.
Sounds good. All right. Everyone, thanks very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
I'm the Realist.
And I'm the Broadway one. This one actually makes sense.
Oh, yeah, because so much philosophy was talked about in this episode. And we're your geeky gentleman and lady, and we will be discussing things.